Greenland is a remote frontier land, dominated by ice.
This place is raw, it's rugged, and this is the essence of the extreme north of Greenland.
It's the biggest island on the planet, but home to less than 60,000 people.
These dogs are absolutely key to the Inuit hunting.
There are still indigenous communities surviving in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. It would be easy to think that this distant land of ice doesn't matter to you or I. But the future of Greenland will impact on us all.
If the entire ice sheet were to melt, global sea level would rise by 7 meters.
My name is Stewart McPherson, and I'm on a quest to travel north.
This is it, the end of the realm of man.
To the very limit of human civilization and beyond.
People have been coming here for thousands of years.
And find its stunning wildlife.
The sheer abundance of life here is absolutely staggering.
And I'm going to find out how climate change is reshaping the lives of not just the people who live in this extraordinary landscape.
This is millions and millions of tons breaking away.
But the whole planet and the very future of humanity. Greenland sits on the top of the world between the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. And it's absolutely dominated by a vast ice sheet. I'm a geographer and field biologist, and I'm going to explore the critical role this ice sheet plays for all life here. Only the very margins of this land escape the ice that covers an astonishing 4/5 of the island. The narrow terrain around the coast is mostly barren and rocky tundra, but you're never far from the edge of the ice. This ice has experienced record melting in the last few decades, and I want to find out how global warming is profoundly affecting the country's climate and way of life. Greenland is the biggest island in the world. It's over 2,500 kilometers from top to bottom. Although it's been part of Denmark for several hundred years, it gained the right to self-rule in 2009. Its icy landscape makes it feel like I've stepped into another universe. But as remote as Greenland's ice sheet is, it matters to everyone on the planet.
Wow, this is the Greenland ice sheet, the second largest ice sheet in the world. It covers an area of about 1.7 million square kilometers, and within it is locked up about 2.8 million cubic kilometers of water. It's one of the best places in the world to see the impacts of a warming climate. But to do that, we've got to climb onto it, and that means kitting up.
My plan is to trek out across the ice sheet and spend the night there. And to do that, you need to be prepared. In winter, temperatures here can plummet below -40 degrees Celsius. Luckily, we're here in summer, but even now, the temperature is only a few degrees above freezing. The easiest way to carry all the kit I'll need tonight is on a sled.
Pulling this sled is actually surprisingly easy. I can really understand why Shackleton and Scott and all the other great polar explorers decided to man-haul. It's much easier than carrying it on your back.
Just a few kilometers walking on this ice sheet, and it's hard not to be overawed by its majesty.
It's amazing to get your mind around the immensity of the ice here. It continues on for hundreds of kilometers in all directions, and in places it can be up to 3 kilometers deep. Entire mountain ranges can be underneath us. We just walk over them and not even know they're here. Just an endless sea of ice.
Walking on this ice is inherently dangerous. Not only is there a risk of slipping, but there might also be fissures in the ice that could give way to hidden crevices. So I've left the sled behind to see if I can explore some of the holes opened up in the ice. Every spring, the warming temperature triggers the surface of the ice below the snowline to melt. By summer, crystal clear streams and lakes have formed from that meltwater. The ice has always melted in the summer, but what has changed is the ever-increasing rate at which it's happening. This is not a place where you want to lose your footing. It's very cold now, and it's only going to get colder tonight. This will be one of the most extreme places I'll ever spend the night. So my first priority is to be prepared for the cold.
Okay, so here we are for the night on the ice sheet. Obviously beneath the tent, it's solid ice and the ground is, well, absolutely freezing. So the only way you can sleep here is by having a thick foam insulative mat, then an inflatable air-filled one, and then a thermal sleeping bag. And hopefully that will keep me warm for the night. So sweet dreams and see you in the morning.
It turns out that the cold wasn't the only issue for me. It's high summer in this land of the midnight sun, and I've forgotten one key piece of kit.
Oh my God, it's like 2 in the morning. It's bright sunlight outside. I just can't sleep. I mean, it's like day. I wish I'd just brought one of those eye mask things and could have had a bit of night sleep, but it's so hard to sleep here.
I need to get going and set off for what I've really come here to see. It's astonishing how remote it feels, just a few kilometers into the ice sheet. I'm glad I've got these crampons to keep my footing in this highly treacherous landscape. There's total silence. No electricity, no sound, nothing but the white and blue and the noise of my own feet. Just a few months ago, this would have been a continuous sheet of ice. But now look how quickly the ice has melted into rivers that carve out ice valleys, creating blue pools of water on the surface of the ice sheet. But the Arctic is heating at a much faster rate than the rest of the planet. And this melting ice sheet is now the main factor swelling the Earth's oceans. It's become one of the benchmark measurements for the march of global warming.
The scale of the ice And the extent of the melt is pretty impressive down here on the ground. But to really understand it for the ice sheet as a whole, we've just got to get up into the air.
I've chartered a helicopter to take us over the ice so we can see what this looks like at scale.
Built up over thousands of years. Cores have been dug down and drilled right through the ice and retrieved samples at least 100,000 years old. As the ice falls, the snow falls and the ice compacts, it slowly moves out to the coast, to the exterior. And that's what forms the glaciers that flow down to the ocean. Just the epic scale of this sheet is incredible. It goes on for hundreds of kilometers, way off into the distance beyond the horizon. Just nothing but a sea of white. You can just see a continual stream of ice coming off the main sheet itself. This is the ice fjord. It's dynamic, it's ever-changing. And this vast ice fjord and the glacier behind it is retreating faster and faster than ever before.
The faster the ice melts, the faster it loses the benefit of what climate change scientists call the albedo effect. That's where the very whiteness of the ice protects it by reflecting the heat. But blue pools of water absorb the heat much more. And that means the more the ice melts, the more the melt escalates.
Down there you can see these beautiful sapphire blue pools. These are the meltwater pools. As the ice melts, the water accumulates on the surface. The problem is that the water absorbs the heat from the sun. The ice reflects it very, very efficiently. So the more water you have on the surface, the faster the ice will melt. So it's a runaway cycle that feeds into itself, ever increasing the melt of the ice.
And there's a reason why we should take this very seriously.
If this ice sheet melts entirely, global sea level would rise by 7 meters. That would wipe out every major coastal city on Earth and affect about 2 billion people.
Of course, the first people to be profoundly affected by the loss of the ice are the people of Greenland themselves. I want to see what the changing landscape means for them. As most of the country is uninhabitable, the vast majority of Greenlanders live in the fjords on the southwest coast, where the climate is milder. So I'm heading for the town of Ilulissat, 350 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. Ilulissat is one of the sunniest, driest settlements in Greenland, and with just under 5,000 inhabitants, it's Greenland's third largest town. It's a charming place, and as you walk around the harbour, you can see the boats that are part of an age-old way of life. Fishing is still one of Greenland's biggest income generators, and the source of many people's livelihoods. Despite the lack of grass, everyone loves football. It's Greenland's national sport. The fresh air is making me hungry. Unfortunately, there are several good restaurants in Ilulissat, And I'm really pleased to hear they use fresh local produce from Greenland.
Well, just looking at the menu here, I can see we've got an interesting selection of food. We've got seal, whale steak, and muskox steak. So quite a bit to choose from, and not your normal selection of meats. So it'll be an interesting dinner. Thank you very much. Muskox. Actually, it's got a very different taste from beef. I wasn't expecting that at all. It's really rich, really nice meat. It's delicious.
This is really a place where if you want fresh food, you eat what the locals eat. If you wanted to cook for yourself, you can head down to the market, where hunters and fishermen sell their catch. Today, they've got a typical selection.
Over here, this is actually whale. I think this could be minke or possibly fin whale. You can see the coloration of the skin there, the big layers of blubber. And this is seal meat, possibly harbour seal. You can see this is the chunks of meat, the kidneys, some of the blubber and intestines. So every part is used.
And what can't be eaten is used too. I've headed for the harbour, where local craftsmen still practice the ancient tradition of carving figures out of the bones of dead animals. In Greenland Inuit tradition, these are avenging monsters called tupilaks.
I've only been here a day, but it's pretty obvious that hunting is quite an integral part of Greenlandic culture. I think the further north we go, we're going to see a lot more hunting. And I actually come from a non-hunting background, but I think it's really, really important during this journey that we actually observe and respect the local cultures and don't impose our morals on them. Hunting clearly is a way of life here. It's totally integral to their survival, and we really need to observe that.
So I'm going to see for myself where hunters go to find muskox. I'm travelling south from Ilulissat to the area of a beautiful lake called Tasaswatsiak. And what a surprising landscape. It's warm, biodiverse, and green. In fact, the whole reason Greenland is called Greenland is because back in the 10th century, this is where the Norseman Eric the Red landed when he was exiled from Iceland. Some say he used the name as a marketing strategy to attract more settlers. But here, finally, Greenland lives up to its name. And it's a landscape that supports a wealth of specialised animals.
This vast glacial landscape might look empty, but this 500 square kilometre area is actually thought to be home to up to 25,000 muskox. They're big animals, but Greenland is simply enormous. And also they've been hunted for hundreds and hundreds of years. So they're very shy and prone to running off when they see man. So to find them, we're really going to have to search.
The Arctic wildlife have perfect conditions here, with dry south-facing slopes, a windy highland plateau for hot days, and wet fertile meadows in close vicinity. It's an area that can only be reached on foot, and it's rarely visited by man.
Well, I never expected these conditions in Greenland. It's over 20 degrees C. It feels swelteringly hot down here in the lowlands. The muskox, with their huge, long, shaggy coats, must just be baking. I bet they've gone higher up, right up onto those cliffs, several hundred meters higher, where it's windy and cool. I bet that's where they are, and that's where we've got to go if we're going to stand any chance of finding them. finally the muskox. This is the biggest land herbivore alive today in Greenland. This is a big full-size adult male. It's an amazing animal. Problem is though, the wind is blowing downhill from here, so he'll be able to smell our scent. He's already noticed us, he's staring this way. So I'm gonna go around these rocks, round there, and see if we can get a better view of him.
Although they're called ox, muskox are actually more closely related to sheep and goats than cows. Shaggy survivors from the Ice Age, they're beautifully adapted for the very specific environment in this part of the world. In the spring and summer, the green tundra provides a feast of willow leaves, tussocks, grass shoots, and flowers to graze on. And in the winter, they'll use their excellent sense of smell to break the ice and rustle up a meal of sedge and lichen. The next day, it's time to get back on the road on my journey north. I've returned to Ilulissat to take to the water. Well, we're now on our way to try and find the boat that we've chartered for this journey, the Kissak. No one really knows exactly where she is. She came into port apparently yesterday. So the taxi driver's just going to take us down towards the docks in the town, and honestly, just try our luck and try and find her. Thank you very much. Well, this is the Kissak. This is the vessel that's going to take me to the top of the world, to the very far north of Greenland. And you must be Anders.
Yes.
Hello.
And you're Steve?
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Pleasure to meet you.
Welcome on board.
Thank you very much.
The crew on this boat have years of experience negotiating Greenland's treacherous waters. Even though it's summer, this could be a dangerous journey.
Welcome aboard. This is the Kissak. She's going to be home for the next 3 weeks. She's quite an interesting vessel. She was built in 1964. She's been plying these waters for the last 20 years. And she's got a wooden hull. There's not many polar vessels left with a wooden hull. And she's home for the next 3 weeks. So welcome to the ship.
I'm undertaking a journey that's been a long time in the making. An ancient journey that fills me with both excitement and trepidation. My plan is to go from Ilulissat right up the west coast of Greenland. As we go further north, the towns will get smaller and smaller, more remote and more inaccessible. Hopefully to reach this land up here called Thule. This is home to some of the most northern human settlements on Earth. I want to find out why people live here, how they survive in this extreme climate, and why this is the northernmost limit for our species. This ice fjord is so beautiful and became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2004. It's the birthplace of a massive collection of icebergs that have been carved from one of the most productive glaciers in the world, the Surmek Glacier. It's just impossible not to be awed by the beauty of the waters and its creatures.
This truly is the land of the midnight sun. You might not actually believe it, but it's 1 o'clock in the morning right now. It's bright, broad daylight, and I don't know what 3 weeks of this is going to do to my internal body clock. But then again, when it's so beautiful and exquisite with these icebergs, you don't want to go to sleep anyway. So I think I'll stay up the whole night watching them.
This glacier produces immense icebergs. They can be hundreds of meters high, with most of the ice below the water.
Just the size of some of these icebergs is just incredible. And the exquisite shapes and forms and patterns they've been carved into by the raw action of the water. It just takes your breath away. So beautiful.
The Cermak-Kujalak Glacier produces a tenth of all of Greenland's icebergs. During the summer months, as the ice sheet melts, around 35 billion tons carve off into the fjord. As we approach the glacier, you can hear the movement of the ice. This glacier has been studied for over 250 years, and it's directly informed our modern understanding of climate change.
Being this close to the ice, you can just feel the rumbling, crashing ice at the back of the glacier. It's almost like dominoes. You can hear the chunks smashing against each other, then every so often the face just collapses and gives way to a waterfall of ice. Behind this ice is incredible. This is millions and millions of tons just locked up here, just slowly breaking away. And the ice that's falling is certainly tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands years old, locked up here in this huge ice sheet, and only now reaching the coast and being released.
Across the bay from all this beauty in Disco Island is an abandoned mine with an important story to tell. It's ironic to think that the coal mined here has contributed directly to the melting of Greenland's ice sheet. It may look like a ghost town now, but from 1924 to 1972, the Danish government exploited the island's rich resources, employing over 1,000 Danes, Swedes, and Greenlanders. A whole infrastructure grew up around the mine. By the 1960s, the mine was producing 40,000 tons a year, and its football team was top of the National League. There were schools, hospitals, and even a cinema. The old school is particularly poignant to see abandoned. And amazing to think that it's where former Greenland Prime Minister Kuupik Kleist went to school. By the 1970s, the mine was controversially deemed economically unviable, and it was abandoned. And Ilulissat is not unique. Over the rest of Greenland, and indeed the whole of the Arctic Circle, the 20th century saw many attempts to exploit the abundant seams of minerals and oils in this region. Not far across the Greenland Sea, over in Norway's Svalbard, there's an intriguing old Soviet mining town called Pyramiden. Named after the pyramid-shaped mountain towering over it, Pyramiden employed hundreds of Russians and Ukrainians to mine for coal. Today, it's mostly visited by seabirds and tourists, and offers a fascinating insight into mining life. The town is a time capsule from the Soviet era, and was developed according to the Soviet ideas of an ideal society. Most of the buildings are still standing as they were when the residents left. A bust of Lenin still keeps a watchful eye over the town, with a view out towards a beautiful fjord. But after half a century of exploitation, dwindling coal prices and tricky extraction shut down the mine. The town was abandoned in 1998. Not surprisingly, the British have also wanted a piece of the mineral action. And over on the other side of Svalbard, there's the remnants of a mining quarry established in 1911 by British prospector Ernest Mansfield. One can only wonder what the 70 British miners made of ice-cold Svalbard. But in the end, it was a short-lived project. The marble turned out to be vulnerable to frost and crumbled to dust in Mansfield's ships. By the 1920s, it was game over. Back in Disco Bay, I'm at the site of another British disaster story. In 1845, British explorer Captain John Franklin departed England with two ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror. For centuries, European explorers had been looking for a navigable passage as a trade route to Asia, but they were always blocked by the ice. Franklin's mission was to make it to the last unnavigated icebound sections of the infamous Northwest Passage through the Canadian Arctic.
Franklin reached these waters here at Disco Bay. He met one whaling ship. The whalers reported him and his men in very good spirits. He then sailed north, up through there, off the map, and into the unknown.
But shortly after, the expedition met with disaster when both ships and all 129 men became trapped in ice. Stories of hypothermia, starvation, and even cannibalism are now the stuff of legend. And eventually, every single one of Franklin's expedition perished in this hostile environment. Following in the footsteps of Franklin's doomed expedition is daunting. There are dangers everywhere, and ice mist can roll in off the land, making life at sea treacherous. Ironically, warming sea temperatures mean that this passage will one day become a regular sea lane.
Look, there's a lot more ice out here now. Starting to get some big ones looming off here. The sea mist adds a new danger to this journey. We just can't see the ice. Look, it can be just 50 meters away and almost invisible in this white horizon. And not only that, there could be submerged ice called growlers that we can easily run into. And considering the Kissak's got a wooden hull, we have to take this really seriously. At all times, we've got to have people looking out for the ice and just proceeding really slowly. It's so eerie how the icebergs just loom out of the mist, almost like ghosts. And the really scary thing is that 80% of the ice can be under the water. So we have to stay well clear away from the really big ones in case they've got bits projecting out which could just rip apart the whole of this boat. It's easy to see how the tragedy of the Titanic happened and that famous ship struck the massive iceberg. If the conditions then were anything like what they are today, the visibility and just the general haze, the mist, prevents you from seeing the icebergs until it's too late. Of course, Titanic didn't have the technology or the maneuverability that we have on the Kissak today. And so she just couldn't avoid that tragedy.
For much of the wildlife here, icebergs provide a welcome resting place. Our captain has decided it's too dangerous to continue in these misty conditions. So, like these walruses, we're going to take a break and moor up. This snowy owl is using the cover of mist to search for young bird chicks. This is one of Greenland's many small islands. And as visibility improves, I can see that it was once inhabited. This was settled over 1,000 years ago. There's still evidence of simple dwellings and even crop growth. People have long since left this island, and now it's home to wildlife, like these red-necked phalarope and eider ducks.
Ah, look, this is the eider duck's nest. You can see the incredibly soft eider all around 5 eggs here. This eider is, wow, you can barely feel it, it's so soft. And this has been collected for hundreds of years to make duvets and pillows.
Sadly, the hunting of eiders and other seabirds has dramatically damaged their numbers to near unsustainable levels.
Great to see.
But I'm here on this island, one of dozens dotted around Greenland, for one very special resident.
This is Green Island, home to the largest Arctic tern breeding site in the world. This tiny bird undertakes the greatest migration of all animals, travelling from here to overwinter down in the Weddell Sea off Antarctica, some 20,000 kilometres away.
This journey means this bird sees 2 summers a year and more daylight than any other creature on the planet. And when it stops off here, the Arctic tundra provides the perfect home for its nests.
The chicks are perfectly camouflaged in this low tundra vegetation. They're very, very hard to find. I just gently pick him up. This won't hurt him, and his parents will definitely come back. This little guy as well, he's not far from fledging. He's a few weeks old, and he'll live for over 30 years. And during that time, he'll fly over 2.5 million kilometers. That's the equivalent of flying to the moon and back over 3 times. It's amazing he weighs just a few grams. It's just incredible to think this little bird will fly such a great distance just on the power of its own wing. We'll pop him back. His mum and dad will come back. Good luck to you. Wow, did you see that? Wow, that was close. These Arctic terns have a good defense. They bomb any intruder that approaches their nests. And this guy is telling me very clearly that there's a nest somewhere near me and I should get out of the area. So I think I better do just that.
Back on the Kisak, I'm beginning to think about the next leg of the journey north. I need to stop for some vital supplies, so I'm heading for Upernavik, one of the last supply towns on my journey before moving into the high Arctic. Upernavik is part of an archipelago near Baffin Bay. It's one of the earliest settled areas of Greenland, with the first migrants arriving from North America around 2000 BC. The town itself was formally founded in the 18th century, when the Danes first colonized Greenland. For large parts of the year, it can only be reached by air.
During the summer, a ship like this one down here will call in generally about twice a month to drop off supplies for the town. During winter, when the sea freezes over, they get absolutely no supply ships at all and have to hold out on their own until the sun reappears.
Right, now the goods are in, it's time for me to head to a local store.
Wow, first thing I see in the supermarket, shotguns and rifles. I think I just stick to the groceries today.
In a way, it's a miracle to find such bounty in this remote town. And I'm not going to find anything like this where I'm heading next. In the next episode, we push north to the top of the world.
The conditions are getting much rougher and now getting into the high Arctic, the wild Greenland.
I learn how to hunt with the Inuit.
These sledges enable the Inuit to travel vast distances over the snow and ice.
We're now moving north, so we're moving into polar bear territory.
We discover there are dangers everywhere, on the land, on the water.
When they break apart, they really can be lethal.
There's extraordinary Greenland wildlife.
This valley is like a little oasis.
And we meet the only people who have truly mastered this hostile landscape.
This place feels raw and rugged, and this is the essence of the extreme north of Greenland.
And also mastered its wildlife.
So this also is polar bear?
And how the climate is changing their way of life.
more ice now.
The ice is melting.
Yes.
Hard life.
I like.
Yeah.